Hello, and welcome to the live series Straight Off the Bat. Join us on Thursdays as we speak to individuals from multiple industries who will help you understand financial literacy and education. If you're joining us from Facebook, thank you so much. Don't forget to follow our page to stay updated with content that will help you manage your money. I'm your host, Pauline Joseph, and today we are going to discuss how Trinidad and Tobago startups are changing the game in 2025. I know it's almost over 2025, but that's okay. We're going to welcome our guest. We are joined by Keishel Isaac. She is a visionary owner of Akin Foods. This agro-processing business champions local cultivated staples like breadfruit and plantain, offering healthy, sustainable alternatives to imported goods. And it's quite interesting because I did see an article in New York Times that spoke about the unknown breadfruit vegetable, but in the Caribbean, we all know it exists. We're also joined by Maria Emery. She is an entrepreneur who integrates hybrid hydroponics with traditional farming methods, blending innovative technology and conventional agriculture. It's quite cool because her background actually proves that she knows what she's talking about. So we'll see in a minute. We'll be later joined by Sharlene Gittens-Francis, and we will do her introduction when she comes in. So let's bring in our guests today. We're super excited to have people who are on the ground doing amazing things. How are we today, ladies?
Great. Good morning.
All right. So let's start about this startup program that recently concluded. What inspired you to join the startup program?
Well, I saw the advertisement for it, and I was actually in the process of scaling my business. So I thought that it would be a really good opportunity to improve on a lot of things that I needed to implement in my business. So, because I had to refine my business model, I implemented some technology and I focused on innovation and basically my community.
Okay, thank you so much for that. We have a bit of technical difficulties with Kushal, so we're going to grill Maria on this background, if she can give us some insight as to what we're seeing behind us.
It's actually a shade house. I started with 4 commercial systems and I scaled. It was actually open, out in the open air. The dry season was really great, but the onset of the rainy season, I got a lot of issues in terms of the excess water, pests, and all that. So to mitigate those things, I had to invest. And as you can see, the shade house. So it's a more controlled environment implemented.
That is so cool. I mean, I have so many questions, especially when it comes to flooding in Trinidad, but we'll get back to that because we want to focus on the startup program. What problem or need in Trinidad and Tobago were you hoping to solve with this startup program that you joined at BATT?
Food security is very, very, very important to me. COVID actually just was a big, 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 big game changer because everybody rushed for basically food, toilet paper. So it really showed me the importance of food and producing in the agricultural sector. So I grew up in agriculture. We did the traditional farming. There are a lot of different things that affect that in terms of, as you said, the flooding, climate change, pests and diseases. We're dealing with a lot of African snakes. So I wanted something a little more hybrid, a little more controlled. So that is why I ventured into hydroponics. Now, there are different types of hydroponics. I plant in a substrate called cocoa bean. So it mimics planting in the soil basically. And you feed your plants the nutrition, the nutrients. So it goes directly to the plant. Greater yields, better taste, lasts longer. So a lot more for me, had a lot more benefits with the control. I still do traditional for long-term crops, but yeah, I was able to implement this model and make it successful.
Wow, that sounds so amazing, Maria. I have so many questions as it relates to the farming space because all I do is go to the supermarket, and I pick it up from the veggie section. The idea that all this work's put into it. I think we're so disconnected, obviously, with social media for
There's a
being a
lot of
female in
work.
this space. Yes,
A
I
lot of
can't
work,
imagine.
point of planting, inception, seedlings to actually getting it to your table.
Wow, so cool. All right, so we're gonna bring Keishel in because I think I'm seeing her. Are we? Can we bring her in? Are we having technical difficulties? Oh, there we go. Keishel, can you hear us? Hello. Okay, so we're gonna head back to Maria and have the conversation around, this the startup program and some of the things that you learned. What was the biggest takeaway that you got from the startup program, Maria?
I'm just refining what I had in place. So the different processes, I'm structuring my business with a little clearer understanding of certain things. It helped me build systems, organize processes. They helped with the mentors and just getting that feedback. It was really important, and it actually contributed to me establishing certain things and protocols in my business.
Wow, that is so fantastic to hear. So you mentioned earlier about all the work that goes into it, and of course we had, what we shall not be named, that period where we're under lockdown. What was the biggest challenge for you there? Because that would have been, I mean, no one was seeing that coming. So what was the challenge there, and how did you navigate it?
Accessing the challenge for me was accessing nutrients, but I am pretty much I don't use pesticides, insecticides, that sort of thing, and I try to keep it as natural as possible. So I was able to use natural ingredients, what I had on hand, to implement and to use. The challenge came with just navigating that whole getting goods to and from customers, that sort of thing. Getting access to seedlings because I wasn't doing my own seedlings at the time. So yeah, just getting access to stuff that because people were a lot more interested into planting on their own and all that. So there was an influx of that. So people were buying out seedlings, buying out potting mix, buying out everything to do on their own, to do it on their own. So that kind of just supply and demand and getting access to my basically ingredients that I would have used.
Sorry, I was on mute. That's so fascinating because do you think after we are back to normal and the new normal as it was created as, do you think people are no longer interested in doing their own farming?
Some people are still, but the demand for it has lessened a little bit because of, I guess, the busy lifestyle that everyone has in terms of, children, family life, work life, that sort of thing. To actually tend to the plants, it takes a little care, a little time. So there are a lot of persons that still do it. It was very important that actually changed their way of thinking and their way of living and that sort of thing. So it's still there. Yes, people still plant. I've seen it. I've seen where they still produce their stuff, even if it's a minor thing as just seasoning in their backyard, a little pot with the basic things. Because also they produce, it's expensive in the market right now with all the things that you're dealing with, the floods, the excess rain, pest and disease, that sort of thing. So it actually helps with their income and not having to spend as much as.
Okay. That is such good insight because there was such a shift in buyers' behavior during that time, and obviously people went back to something. Even how we see life is a little different now. So it'll be interesting to learn what people are doing from your end and how you're seeing it in that space. But we're going to go back to the startup program to learn more about that, and I believe we have. Do we have Charlene joining us? Are we okay? So while we figure out some technical difficulties on the back end there, can we go back to the startup program area and really discuss about your experience in the program and if there was a moment that you kind of shifted your mindset? or changed an outlook on something in your approach on your business? You're on mute there, Maria.
Yes, of course. Yeah, a lot of things shifted my mindset. The importance of customer feedback, doing market research, that was a big thing. I transitioned from being product centric. Yes, I have the product, I provide a product, I provide a need, but I transitioned to being customer centric because the needs of the customers would change. It's ever changing. Creating content was another thing. Yes, I created content, but I didn't schedule it because at the end of the day, you have a lot of things to do. I didn't schedule it as often as I needed to. How I marketed to specific people. Basically, it's not really about just selling the product, selling the benefits, selling all the things that you can do with the products, that sort of thing. It really helped in shifting my mindset in that of.
Wow, that's so interesting to learn because a lot of people think that social media is easy, right? A lot of people cannot stand even the term, the word influencers. They're like, what are these people? These people don't have any jobs. But the reality is to create content, it's not just creating, it's the idea, it's the work behind it. So what was your take on that? Because for me, I'm in the social media space. You're a female out there getting your hands dirty. Literally, I think you're a TikTok dream. So, what has changed since the startup program from the BATT program?
The thing is, my background in photography and graphics actually helped. It's a lot. You have to see the vision. You have to have a vision. You have to have a plan on what you want to do. So yes, I do different types, different varieties of lettuce. I do seasoning, different herbs, different types of produce. So sometimes you have to narrow it down. As I said, my photography, because you have to be able to navigate the digital field as well. You know, the templates, the music, what's trending, that sort of thing, what would apply to your business. So it takes some research, it takes a little thought. It's not just I'm going to do this. It's a little planning that's involved. A lot of planning actually that's involved into actually producing something and putting it out there. The information, what you're selling, the benefits of it, when you have it available, and just telling that story, taking persons along your journey basically in what you're doing. So telling that story and just not feeding too much of it at a time, just giving little insights into things that you do on a daily basis.
Yes, well, thank you so much for that insight because a lot of people think that they can just do it, and to put that effort in and time as well as doing your job, that is something that people definitely need to understand more.
That is where I guess you hire, persons that would do that in that field, but that comes at a cost as well.
Yes, so we'll talk more about that later, but for now we're going to go on a break, and when we come back, we're going to bring back in our guests, Keisha and Sharlene, and discover what they learned with the Bankers Association of Trinidad and Tobago Startup Program. We'll be right back.
Tired of feeling lost when it comes to your money? Want to make your money work more for you? Then tune in to Straight Off the Bat, brought to you by the Bankers Association of Trinidad and Tobago. Every Monday at 8:30 p.m. on TV6, right after the news. We'll give you practical tools and strategies to help you manage your money wisely, from budgeting basics, debt management, to wealth creation. We'll cover it all. No jargon, just straight talk. Join our host, Pauline Joseph, as she speaks to experts across the industry to empower you to take control of your money. Straight Off the Bat, Mondays at 8:30 p.m. on TV6. Brought to you by the Bankers Association of Trinidad and Tobago.
And welcome back to Straight Off the Bat, a show that helps you understand financial literacy and education. Thank you so much for joining us today. And if you're doing so from YouTube, don't forget to smash that subscribe button so you will continue seeing content that help you manage your money. Today, we're covering the topic how Trinidad and Tobago startups are changing the game in 2025. So we are joined by three ladies. Today, we're going to bring them in. So we were having some technical difficulties earlier. So we're hoping that we can hear and see their lovely faces. Can you hear us, everyone? Yeah? Okay. Great. So we're going to do a quick introduction for Sharlene. So Sharlene Gittens-Francis is the founder and chief motivated officer of Unleash Potential Development Services Company Limited, where she helps individuals gain clarity, set meaningful goals, and create practical roadmaps to achieve them. So Sharlene, we're going to get straight into it because we want to find out, how did you discover the BATT Startup Program?
Okay, well, initially I was scrolling on the internet and I came across the ad for it. And I saw it, and initially it looked interesting at that point in time. But it wasn't until some particular day that I felt a bit stuck in terms of wanting to market it being a new business. I didn't know which direction to take. And then I saw it came up again, like right on time, just telling you, here, what you need to take this moment, take the time, get this program done, and see how it can help move you in the right direction. Because when you are, in the trenches battling to get certain things done, you always need the extra push to ensure that you get the tools and the materials and the knowledge and the information that you think you may need for your particular business.
So true, and especially as an entrepreneur, it's very easy to be in your head, and that's sometimes a dangerous place to be in. So it's great to have external resources to assist you. So we're gonna ask Keishel, because we've been trying to get her on for a minute. So we know that you found the startup program and you did the entire program. What was the challenge or the problem that you were trying to solve?
The challenge I was trying to solve was getting structure in my business. So I know I'm doing farming. I know I would like to do agro processing one day, but I didn't have a roadmap on how to successfully accomplish this. When I signed up for the Bankers Association program, it really gave me clarity on how to go from one step to another, how to register your business, open a bank account, do your social media posting, do your market research. And at the end of the program, anything that I'm trying to accomplish now, like for example, my breadfruit flour, I will be much more organized about it. I have a plan and I know what I have to do, what equipment I need before I go to jump in and start making breadfruit flour. So what I think it brought to me is a lot of organization and structure.
It's interesting you say breadfruit because it's an arch enemy of mine. I don't know if I like it, to be but at the same time, you're talking about flour. I'm like, gluten-free. I think I will try that. It's a different way at looking at things because I was, don't want to bring any trauma dumping here, but I was forced to eat it as a child and I did not like it. So it's great to hear that, you are finding different ways, especially parents nowadays, every option out there. So it's great to hear that that's an option and reduce our importing. So we're going to head back to Sharlene to discover, because you mentioned, you saw the ad running, you had, some difficulty. Can you share some insight onto what problem you were trying to solve? Anything in particular that you were looking at? You're on mute, Sharlene.
Sorry about that. The problem within my business you're speaking about that I was trying to solve.
Yes.
She mentioned the structure, and that is something that was definitely lacking. It being what we call in Trinidad a side hustle. You just, you move with women, you do everything as it comes. But having the structure in terms of identifying my target audience, knowing how to reach them, where to find them, the research that goes with it, structuring the offers that I can give to each of those different clients, the different social media platforms that I should take a look at. Those were basically, I was doing some of everything and not necessarily in the right order or with a roadmap, so to speak. But previously, I was doing just about some of everything as time would permit. In terms of with the program, what that afforded me was the opportunity to create structure and order. So okay, register your business, set up your bank accounts, it goes in a particular order as opposed to leaving it up to whatever I feel like doing at a given point in time. Because being an entrepreneur, sometimes you work by whim. So there you feel like posting, tomorrow you feel you should open your bank account, maybe you should register your business. But given all of the information, it was for me to determine the steps in a particular order that I should get done.
Such great insight, and I think this is a great segue. We can't have this Bankers Association show without the conversation on financial literacy, right? And it's something for me. I mean, you're three amazing guests on the show. I'm also an entrepreneur. We're all females, and the idea of managing your money, especially when you mentioned this idea of hustling, when you're going from hustling to a structured approach, there's a lot of changes, not just from within your business, but mentally. So give us some insight, especially as we're barreling down the end of 2025, because where did it go? We'll start with Maria. What is one of the biggest takeaways you learned for 2025 within the financial literacy space?
Learn to track everything, your input, your output, customer yields, your costs, customer trends. Be intentional with planning. I scaled, as I said. I have to schedule stuff, my crop cycles, that sort of thing. So I have to continue and collect data also. Another thing I learned was networking, connections for growth and support. It is beneficial. It is very important.
Thank you for that, Maria. And I think that the idea of tracking everything, you always see these signs in the banks, no commingling of funds. And I was like, back in the day, I'm like, don't tell me what to do. And now I'm realizing, wait a minute, it's actually better for my business if I am able to track everything. So we're going to ask Kishel the same question. What's your biggest takeaway within digital literacy for 2025 that you learned?
I've learned to document everything. Put a cost on everything. Any product that I'm making, do my costing, even regarding financial. Social media, you don't have to hire a social media manager when you are just starting. There are a lot of free resources like Canva Pro for a limited period. Even registering your business, you don't have to get an accounting firm to register your business. So there are a lot of things you can do within your business on a limited budget, but you can still do that whilst ensuring that your business is registered and following all of the regulations. So I registered my business after I started the Bankers Association program. But before that, I contacted a company and I thought they will do the registration for me because it seemed so overwhelming and something that an expert needed to do. At the end of the program, at the end of that module, I confidently went to legal affairs, registered, created a profile. I registered the business, and that is my takeaway this year. You don't need a large budget to grow your business. You just need to be brave, persevere, and be organized.
Great advice, Kishel. And it's interesting that you say that because I'm remembering when I started my business as well, and we didn't have the AI tools we have now. So you can actually head over to ChatGPT or Google Gemini and find out. Obviously, there comes a point in time where you will need to hire an expert, but you're absolutely right, Kishel. There's a lot of things that you're going to have to do on your own as a startup. And time is going to be so limited. But at the end, it's worth it, and it's also very interesting what Maria said earlier, because it ties back into what you said with networking, because learning all this information is important for small businesses and support. So we're going to head to Sharlene to ask her, what was your biggest takeaway in financial literacy for 2025?
For me, it would have been pricing for profit. In that, when we create a product or service, if it's a passion project, sometimes you're underpriced in an attempt to get the business. What you need to do basically is to cost out all of your products and services down to the smallest detail. Even if you're working from home, your light, electricity, you may pay for a subscription to Canva, you may pay for a subscription to Zoom if you have a session. But all of the little things that you tend to overlook, you need to pull those back together or in doing a costing for your product and for you to add your profit for you to do your price. So it may seem like you're doing a simple webinar, but behind the scenes, you may have had to pay for Zoom. You may have had to pay for a babysitter for you to not have to be dealing with your kids while you are on this particular Zoom call, etc. So it's sitting down and identifying all the costs, both direct and indirect, to you creating the price for your business. And you mentioned the commingling of funds. Like the previous speaker, I also registered my business after we had that particular session. Subsequent to that, going and set up a bank account, because it's very easy for you to send the money here, send the money there. But when you set up that business bank account, now you can ensure that all your expenses and your income that comes to your business and through your business is business associated, which makes it easier for you to do things like your cash flow statements, etc. And it makes life easier when it's time for you to be accountable. You can take your financial information and look at your target. If it is that you wanted to make 100,000 in 2025, you can go back into your bank account and see how the money would have come in on a monthly basis, which you should have been tracking, but you may be small and may not be that consistent. But you can go back and track how did you meet your financial targets from month to month. So that was the biggest takeaway for me.
It's so interesting because these types of this advice is so important, but a lot of us don't even think about it because we're so gung-ho and like, let's just do this, let's just get it done. And there are all these different elements that need to be put in place while you're living your life, right? So thank you so much, ladies, for sharing these gems and for us to learn. So we're going to go on a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get some insight on what types of tools these ladies are now employing, or maybe just purchase subscriptions. As Sharlene mentioned earlier, who knows, you're in agriculture, but you need to have a Zoom subscription. These are the types of things that we need to look at as we grow our businesses. So we'll be right back. Hello, and welcome back to the live series Straight Off the Bat. Join us on Thursdays as we speak to individuals from multiple industries who will help you understand financial literacy and education. If you're joining us from LinkedIn, don't forget to smash that like button and follow our page to stay updated with content that helps you manage your money. I'm your host, Pauline Joseph, and today we're discussing how Trinidad and Tobago startups are changing the game in 2025. So we're joined by Maria, Keisha, and Sharlene, and we have a wealth of knowledge based on not just their experience, but the things that they would have learned while going to the startup program that was hosted by the Bankers Association of Trinidad and Tobago. We also have, just FYI, we have a brief video that you can check out. We're going to put in the comments below. If you're watching this on YouTube, it'll be there or there. I don't know. Depends on where you're watching it. You'll find it out, and you could check out a little bit more on the summary of the show. In addition, you could sign up to learn more about our live shows. We have placed that as well on the live on the comment section. So just before the break, we were discussing the biggest takeaway in financial literacy for 2025, which I think is extremely important for us to continuously learn as entrepreneurs. And we're going to find out a little bit more about what tools you've incorporated lately since the startup program show. I'm going to start with Maria. Is there any tools that you're like, wow, I didn't know this exists. I'm now using it from here forth with my business?
Tools for me would basically be like the sales funnels, call to action, that sort of thing. Yes, I would have used it in a little sense, but going through the program, I got the correct terminology, the correct process to go about doing things. I also had to, yes, I record and do accounting. A tool I would use is Canva. I'd use Photoshop, some video editing programs, an accounting program I had to subscribe to also because I want to track my expenses and record it, where I can just export to an accountant. It's easier. It flows better.
That's great to hear, especially in this digital age. We have so many options now. So it's just to figure out what's the right one for you. So Keisha, is there any tool that you would like to share with us that you recently signed up for?
I signed up for Canva Pro in November. So I'm off of the trial and I invested in Canva Pro. I also am working on market validation and my survey. So I'm using the Google Forms to gather information from persons about my product because the breadfruit flour is something that is a bit unique. So I'm really gathering feedback instead of what I feel and what I think may interest persons regarding packaging, their opinions about taste. So market research is something that is very important for me that I am implementing in my business.
That is so fantastic to hear. We are moving away from this was my gut feeling. So this is why I decided to do this, which I'm sure everyone on this call have heard at least once. So, or maybe you were guilty of it. I mean, I think I was as well. So, Sharlene, give us some insight on your end.
Okay, so I guess there would have been a lot of tools that there are a lot of tools available, but I wasn't sure like which would be the best fit for me or for my business. So like the previous speaker, I Canva Pro, as opposed to free, I'm now on the Canva Pro because I do like a lot of visuals and vision boards and that sort of thing. So it is limited with the free version. Now you have access to a lot more other resources. I am using MailerLite now because I'm doing some mild email marketing because as one of the lecturers reminded us that social media, WhatsApp, social media and Facebook, you can lose those accounts at any point in time, but or your phone can, your phone could go down or something and you lose your contacts if you're into the WhatsApp marketing. But with the email marketing, you do have something a bit more sustainable where it is you're using MailerLite, you have all of their contact information. So if it's their email address, their phone numbers, you would have their information and you would be able to use some email marketing. Let me think. There was also, AI. I remember I was doing my first workshop that I did. I spent almost 2 months trying to put together content for that particular workshop, trying to get it right, doing all the research, etc. Now I've started using AI to help gather all the research and the research sources, which cuts the process by so much affording you more time to be able to focus on other revenue generation activities within your business. Let me think. I also purchased a small camera because my promise to myself is to do more videos for social media because I am still navigating the social media space to gauge which is the best platform where my target audience is. So yes, I would have invested in the tripod, the lights, everything. Some people may have that, but before I didn't think it was a necessity. So I think that yeah, I think that's it.
Well, thank you so much. I think you're giving me some motivation because I also have a camera and I also have plans, and that was years ago. So one of these days I will execute. And I think there's a trend here in conversation around AI, right? Because I think AI just as a clickbait, a lot of us are clicking, trying to figure out what to do. But I'm gonna throw a random question out there for any one of you guys to pick up. But how important do you think AI will be for your business?
Okay,
Very
so
important.
me,
We'll
it is
start with Maria. Oh, go
you're
ahead,
hearing me?
Maria, and we'll.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Let's start with Maria, and we'll get Charlene after.
Okay, just in terms of research, in terms of wording something, sometimes you may not have the right words. You plug it into AI and you say, okay, I want to describe this, and it gives you options. So it helps in your everyday business in terms of documents, sending out emails, content, wording things specifically, marketing to your customers because it sells your story.
Great insight there. Definitely with copywriting, it's very helpful. So Charlene, you were going to add?
Yes. I mean, in terms of AI, it is definitely a necessity as opposed to a nice to have. It cuts the time that you would take to do certain things in such a short in in seconds. You can have you're thinking of doing a proposal. I remember 4 weeks I am milling around trying to do a proposal. I'm wondering the right words, etc. And then you can train your AI as well with all of your information to be able to sound like you, to know, your likes, your dislikes, your style, etc. Where you can put out some content, whether it's an email, a proposal, that sounds like you, that when you get it, it's just a matter of tweaking it and utilizing it, which saves you a lot of man hours. In terms of the research, my background before was research. I was a research analyst in different spheres, different organizations. In fact, I still do research projects. But with AI now, the information is compiled from various sources that you yourself don't need to go back to all of the sources you may want to validate, but you do not have to go to find all of the sources of information that can help you. So you can get, when I thought I couldn't even get like local information on it, I did get some local information to supplement my market, my actual face-to-face surveys and perform surveys that I would have done. That when I checked, it was in tandem with the information that I would have collected. So definitely for research, and it is a definite time saver. And for me, one of the issues that I usually recognize for myself is that I'm always in my head. So to get it out of your head and on paper or out of your head onto the screen or have, someone to bounce ideas off, because sometimes you, as an entrepreneur, if you're in it alone, sometimes you need someone to ask a question, give scenarios, um, something that is not just biased by what you think, but where you can use AI to give you different scenarios as it relates to something that you may have going, milling around in your head. So as opposed to sometimes I will jump up with an idea in the night and then you say, you know what? You're trying to sleep, but not sleep because it's in your head. You can utilize AI to see how the direction that you can go, where you can stick a pin and know, where you can follow with that particular idea. So it's a definite tool that it's here to stay, and it's a matter of incorporating it into your business in a way that suits your business type.
Thanks for that insight, Charlene. I want to, it's a good segue into the next question for Keisha, because you talk about being in your head. Keisha, I wanted to find out for you if there was a component within the startup program that really assists you when it comes to the mentorship space, because we all in our heads at some point in time. But was there an impactful moment for you within mentorship that you took away from the program?
At the end of the program, there was a mentorship session with Adana.
We're having you have a bit of a delay there, Keisha. So we're gonna redirect the question to Maria and come back to you, because I think we're having a little internet issues. So Maria, you heard the question.
Yes.
So give us some insight there in mentorship.
So for me, the mentorship sessions were really valuable. Just the fact that I could get that personalized feedback, that one-on-one. So I would, if there was anything that I needed to work on, if there was anything I needed to improve on, I would have gotten that advice. It also helped me to see things from a different point of view that I may not have, considered. So just having that one-on-one and that feedback was very, very valuable to me.
All right, let's see if we get Keisha internet working now. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, it sounds better. Let's try that again.
Okay. The mentorship program with Adana was very helpful for me, because there was the first session. I came to Adana and I was speaking to her about my business plans, and I was bouncing some ideas off of her. And she said, "Why are you talking to me? What are you waiting on? Go and do it. You know what you're about." I left there so pumped up. I felt so, so, so encouraged. And you had an expert telling you that, because she is your mentor, she was our teacher. And it was about over a month after the program came to an end. And it really validated for me that I'm on the right track. I'm on the road to success, because Adana was like, "Kishel, come off the phone, go and start what you're supposed to do. What you're telling me, you know what you're about." And I really felt motivated, really, really motivated and encouraged.
Yeah, I think we all need a little bit of a kick in the butt, maybe it be mentally or physically. Sharlene, do you have any insight first on mentorship?
Yes, I think the mentorship part of the program is such a wonderful addition, because many times you do programs and I mean you're just in a classroom space and you just learn stuff and you're free to implement it or not implement it, as the case may be. But knowing that there is a mentorship program after that, somebody is going to ask you about the things that you would have learned and how you are going to implement it in your business, that also gives you the extra kick that you're talking about to ensure that you do what you said you were going to do. In terms of, for me, it was, as an entrepreneur, sometimes you have a tunnel vision. You have in your mind, there's a particular thing you want to do. And you head down and you keep doing that particular thing. With the mentorship program, what I found is that it gave you the macro perspective in terms of you are here within the market, but there are a lot of other things that you can do and you can offer. So within my session, the cross-sell, the upsell, what additional products can you provide or services? Those were some of the things that sometimes you focus on one particular thing, one particular product, group of products, but you're not seeing what are the spill-offs. In terms of the mentorship, again, with the sales funnel, she reminded me of the different things that I had when I identified the sales funnel. There are certain clients that we always forget. So we have the ones that would have purchased from us before, and they purchase and then we just leave them. These are persons who would have experienced our product or service before, and they are primed to be to give us a testimonial or give us a referral. And sometimes we just leave them. They are literally waiting to see what next we have to offer based on you giving them, a very good offer before. So that mentorship program just reminded me of the different stages and the different people that we have in our funnel that we tend to forget because many times when it's a one-man show, you choose something and you focus on it and you don't see the macro view of all the different things, all the other things you can offer. As in, you're literally leaving money on the table by not looking at the macro perspective as it relates to your product offering. So that is something that came out specifically for me in the mentorship session. Yeah.
Thank you for that insight, Charlene. I think there's so much to learn here. We don't have that much time. We're going to go on a quick break. But when we come back, I'm going to prep our guests for the question, which is, what would you tell the old you pre-startup program to the new you post-startup program? What type of insight would you give yourself? So think about that for a second, and we'll be right back. And welcome back to the live series Straight Off the Bat. Join us on Thursdays as we speak to individuals from multiple industries who will help you understand financial literacy and education. If you join us on Facebook, don't forget to smash that like button and follow our page to stay updated with content that will help you manage your money. I'm your host, Pauline Joseph, and today we're discussing how Trinidad and Tobago startups are changing the game in 2025. Our guests today are Maria, Kishel, and Sharlene, and these are individuals who are doing amazing jobs as entrepreneurs and who also completed the startup program. So we're going to bring them in. Anything you would like to know in terms of the live show for future episodes, head over to our comment section and you can sign up for future live shows. So before the break, I asked a question, so I'll ask it again. What advice would you give yourself before you started the startup program with BATT to what you know now? What would be the major takeaway? So let's start with Maria.
For me, it is you're never truly ready. Sometimes we wait to get all our ducks in a row, but it would be to just start, plan, and planning helps. But it took me actually going through the process to see the gaps that I would have had in my business and the needs, and then to maneuver and implement processes to mitigate with all of those things. Guidance. Just reach out to persons. Sometimes you're in a field and you have mentors, you have people that are willing to give you information and are willing to guide you to reach out. Information is key. You don't know everything. Research is very important, especially in navigating this economic climate, right? Having access to expert advice is valuable. And some of the apps and some of the things out there, AI helps us, but persons in the sector, mentors, that can help also. So my thing was to start and go through that process. And while you're going through the process, you learn and you implement. That is the advice I would give to myself.
I think you were also talking to me. I felt like you were telling me I needed to do that thing I had to do so long ago. So thank you so much for that, Maria. All right, Kishel, you heard the question. What would you tell your previous self, the person who did not start the startup program and who you are now? What would be the key takeaway?
To be persistent and courageous. Entrepreneurship, it is a journey. You will have setbacks, sometimes disappointments, because life is filled with twists and turns. But the starter program, it really changed your mindset. It equips you with the tools and the resources to know that you will make it to the end successfully. And every time you meet a bump in the road, it doesn't mean that you're a failure. You may have to do some more research. You may have to adjust the product that you're offering, or maybe even adjust your thinking or your planning. But it teaches you resilience, to be courageous. You have to be persistent. So that's what I'll tell the old me: be brave and go and start up.
Okay, I think those great pieces of advice from two of you. We lost Charlene for a minute there, so we're going to continue the conversation, especially with you two individuals who are in the agricultural industry. You know, it's not the flamboyance that is social media influencers. So I would like for you to give some insight into someone who's watching this, the importance of structure for your business, as well as the marketing insight from the startup program, because a lot of people don't put the two together because the reality is your customers online, correct? Yeah? Am I? Yeah?
For me, my thing with that is I would have repeat the question again.
That's okay. So I'm looking for your insight because you don't have the traditional desk job, you know, in the sense
Yeah.
of people
Okay, yes,
behind a
yes,
computer. Yes.
I got you. Okay, so with farming now, I can farm. I would say, okay, I am producing the produce. I am producing it, and somebody will come and buy it. It doesn't always work like that. You have the middleman, then sometimes you can actually want to go sell to your customer. So there's a lot of in betweens to that, and you go with the expectation that yes, you're going to produce and then it'll sell. That is not always the case. You have to go out and find the market, find your customers, educate your customers on what you're producing. My thing is food security is important to me. Just producing for low income families and keeping my prices reasonable where families can access healthy produce. Another thing is the use of pesticides and chemicals and insecticides in our produce. It's affecting our health. That is my main thing. You have to have a vision, you have to have a passion, you have to have a reason why. And once you get that and work towards it, everything else flows. So for me, yes, I would produce it, but then I had to build my customer base. Sometimes I work with wholesalers. I also work with my customer base. Sometimes I retail. So it's just about targeting that market. Each customer is different, and each customer has a different need. So it's just about knowing your market and implementing stuff to be successful.
Thank you so much. And I want to continue on that same breath with Kishel because, you know, you mentioned doing a survey and being able to get insight from individuals because I just love the idea of the flower coming from the breadfruit. So traditionally, you know, people behind an office like, I don't know, maybe I want to try this thing or maybe this is not for me. What type of advice you'd give to someone because you're on this trajectory of change after the startup program? So give us some insight into what you're doing differently.
What I'm doing differently is I guess anywhere I go, I use that as an opportunity, even in the supermarket, to introduce potential clients to my company. Um, and instead of just telling them about breadfruit per se, I will now tell them about the benefits of breadfruit, how tasty it is. I always have samples in my car. So, and if I have a skeptic, when they take a sample from me, they will happily give me their phone number, and I reach out to them for feedback, which I will use to adjust my product, or that will give me valuable market research information. So I once I leave the house, I guess it's an opportunity to market your company, but also it's an opportunity to gather valuable market research information.
Wow, that is such a good insight. Thank you so much for that, Kishel, because a lot of us are so on our phones, sometimes to the point where our necks are now changing because we're always down there. So the idea of every single opportunity being, every time you go outside your house is an opportunity for sales. I really like that approach. That sounds like something all of us can learn from. So I think Charlene is getting a bit of difficulty with her phone. I think she also has some electricity problems. So we want to close off this session because we only have a couple minutes for both Maria and Kishel to give us insight as to why you would recommend a program like the BATT Start Up Programme to other entrepreneurs. Maria, you want to start?
Sure. I would wholeheartedly recommend this program. I got a lot of invaluable resources in this program. The mentorship aspect, the feedback, it was really, really important, something that was needed. It can really foster your growth and transform your business, transform your entrepreneurial journey. So take it. I would recommend it wholeheartedly.
Okay, thank you so much, Maria. And for Kishel?
Yesterday, I went to pick up my daughter from school, and someone was selling her cupcakes, and I told her about the Bankers Association startup program. She was so excited. She told me I must share it with her, please, because the feedback, what you learn in the course, in this course, sorry, the mentorship, all of the modules on marketing, the market research, taxes, banking. But beside that, at the end of the program, you really feel confident. You really feel that you're on the road to success. And even though the course came to an end, and you are aware that there will be challenges on this entrepreneurial journey, you feel like you know that you were equipped with invaluable information from experts in the field. So you are prepped for success.
I too suffer from the mute problem. So let's just close it off with Charlene Insight. You heard the
Okay,
question, right?
give me the question again, please.
What advice would you give someone who's interested, or what would you say to them as to why they should join the BATT Startup Program?
Okay. This particular program, it may be, in fact, it is very intense, but it gives you the intentional movements that you need to make your business a success. When you're finished with this particular program, you have the elements that you can put into your business plan to change your operations to be able to function as a better business prior to that in a way that is totally different to how you would have functioned prior to the program. The when you're finished, based on the exercises that you get to do, and yes, it is a lot of work, but the work, it's your work that you are putting in, it is your investment into your business. So all of the information that I have gathered and the different segments that we had in terms of taxes, business registration, marketing, sales, pricing, etc. These are things that you're walking away with the nuggets that you're probably not in a position to actually pay for. So I think it is definitely a program that you want to be a part of because it can change the trajectory of your business and put you in line for success.
I think you're muted.
Okay, you would think I haven't done this for so long. All right, so on that note, thank you so much for Maria Emery, Kishel Isaac, and Sharlene Gittens-Francis for joining us today and sharing insight into how TNT startups are changing the game in 2025. Sign up to be notified about our next live show in the comments, wherever you are watching this, YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn, the comment section, you'll find it there. And as always, be sure to follow and like our pages across social media so you don't miss a single live show. Thank you so much for joining us today. Bye.